The rise of China's economy. Grudges from history. A civilization forged empires that spanned millennia. China, the Middle Kingdom, once commanded tribute from distant lands, its Silk Roads weaving prosperity across continents. But history is a relentless teacher, and for China, the scars of betrayal, invasion, and subjugation run deep. Today, as China's economy surges toward global dominance, projected to surpass the United States by 2030, the alliances it forges are no accident of geography or market forces. They are deliberate choices, rooted in a collective memory of grudges unresolved. This is the story of how the past haunts the present. China's story begins not in isolation, but in a web of trade and conflict that defined its worldview. From the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE to 120 CE, the Silk Road pulsed with commerce, linking the Middle Kingdom to Central Asia, Persia, and even Rome. Silk, tea, and jade flowed eastward from China, exchanged for horses, glass, and precious stones, alliances built on mutual gain, not conquest. These were pragmatic bonds, governed by the tributary system, where neighboring kingdoms like those in Korea and Vietnam acknowledged China's cultural superiority in exchange for protection and trade privileges. Yet, peace was fragile. To the north, nomadic hordes, the Xiongnu and later the Mongols, raided borders, sparking wars that forced China to erect the Great Wall, a 13,000-mile scar across its soul. In the south, skirmishes with Vietnamese kingdoms tested imperial might, but these were border frictions, not existential threats. China learned early, prosperity thrives with partners who respect its centrality, while enemies at the gates demand vigilance. These ancient lessons of trade as alliance, war as survival, would echo through centuries, shaping a nation wary of vulnerability. The dragon's fire dimmed in the 19th century, igniting what China still calls the Century of Humiliation, a 110-year nightmare from 1839 to 1949, when foreign powers reduced the Qing Empire to a shadow of its former self. It began with the First Opium War, 1839 to 1842, when Britain, seeking to flood China with addictive narcotics to balance tea imports, bombarded coastal forts and forced the Treaty of Nanking. Hong Kong was ceded, 5 treaty ports pried open, and extraterritoriality granted foreigners immunity from Chinese law, unequal treaties that symbolized utter degradation. The wounds multiplied. The Second Opium War, 1856 to 1860, saw Anglo-French forces sack Beijing's Summer Palace, looting treasures now scattered in Western museums. The Taiping Rebellion, 1850 to 1864, fueled by internal chaos, claimed 20 million lives, weakening the Qing further. Then came the Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901, where anti-foreign insurgents were crushed by an 8-nation alliance, including the United States, extracting more concessions. But the deepest cuts came from a neighbor turned predator, Japan. The First Sino-Japanese War, 1894-1895, erupted over influence in Korea. Japan's modernized navy shattered China's fleet at the Battle of the Yalu River, leading to the Treaty of Shimonoseki. Taiwan was annexed, massive indemnities imposed, and Korea independent under Japanese sway. This defeat shattered the myth of Chinese invincibility, ushering in the scramble for concessions, where Russia, Germany, France, and Britain carved out economic colonies. The Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937-1945, was apocalypse. Japan's full-scale invasion, triggered by the Marco Polo Bridge incident, unleashed the Rape of Nanking, 300,000 civilians slaughtered in 6 weeks, and scorched earth campaigns that killed 20 million Chinese, more than any other theater in World War II. As Allied forces bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, China stood bloodied but unbroken, its grudges against Japan, and the Western powers that once enabled such aggression, etched into national DNA. This era taught China, humiliation breeds resolve. Never again would it bow to those who sought to dismember it. Amid foreign predations, China turned inward, its civil strife a cauldron of ideologies. The Chinese Civil War, 1927-1949, pitted the nationalist Kuomintang, KMT, led by Chiang Kai-shek, against the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, under Mao Zedong. Sparked by the Shanghai Massacre of 1927, where KMT purged communists, the conflict paused during the anti-Japanese United Front, 1937-1945, but reignited fiercely post-World War II. Key turning points define the chaos. The Long March, 1934-1935, where Mao's forces evaded encirclement, trekking 6,000 miles and emerging battle-hardened. The Zunyi Conference, 1935, solidified Mao's leadership. By 1949, CCP victories in Manchuria and the Huaihai Campaign routed the nationalists who fled to Taiwan. On October 1, 1949, Mao proclaimed the People's Republic of China, PRC, vowing to stand up against imperialism. From the ashes of humiliation rose a colossus. Deng's Reform and Opening integrated China into global trade, leveraging special economic zones and WTO entry in 2001. By 2025, China accounts for 18% of global GDP. Its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, launched in 2013, pouring $1 trillion into infrastructure across 150 countries. But this rise is selective. Alliances bloom where history holds no thorns. China's economic web favors nations untainted by old wounds. Russia, once a border rival, settled disputes in 2008 and now supplies 20% of China's oil. Their no-limits partnership, a bulwark against Western sanctions, free of the opium-era betrayals. In Africa, 50-plus BRI partners like Kenya and Ethiopia embrace $200 billion investments for roads and dams, ties born of post-colonial solidarity, not subjugation. Southeast Asia, echoing ancient Silk Road harmony, sees Indonesia and Thailand host mega-projects. Despite South China Sea frictions, economic interdependence, $1 trillion in annual trade, trumps transient grudges. Pakistan's China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, a $62 billion lifeline, thrives on shared anti-colonial narratives, unmarred by humiliation. Where history stings, alliances fracture. Japan, architect of China's deepest 20th century scars, remains economically entwined. $300 billion in bilateral trade, but politically distant. The 1951 U.S.-Japan Security Treaty, born from post-war occupation, evolved into a bulwark against perceived Chinese aggression, fueled by Nanjing's ghosts and Senkaku disputes. Tokyo hosts roughly 54,000 U.S. troops, aligning in Quad exercises, a hedge against Beijing's rise. India, scarred by the 1962 border war, where China seized Aksai Chin, clashes anew in Galwan Valley in 2020, killing 20 Indian soldiers. New Delhi spurns full BRI embrace, citing sovereignty fears, and pivots to Washington. Joint Malabar drills, tech pacts, and Quad membership form a democratic arc containing China. These former humiliators, or their heirs, gravitate to America's orbit, haunted by the same history that binds them to caution. The U.S., once a player in the unequal treaties, now leads a coalition evoking Qing-era spheres from AUKUS to the Chip 4 alliance. China's economic miracle, lifting 800 million from poverty, is no mere ledger of growth. It is retribution scripted by history, alliances with the unburdened, estrangement from the tormentors. As Xi Jinping invokes the Great Rejuvenation, ending the century of humiliation, Beijing builds bridges where scars are absent, walls where they fester. In this grudge-forged order, the past isn't prologue, it's policy. The Middle Kingdom rises, not to conquer, but to ensure no century of shame returns. The question lingers, will the world heed its lessons or repeat them?